On the hottest day of the festival so far, I'm joined by one of the hottest women in film, Heather Graham. Thanks for talking to us. Now Heather, DVD Outsider is a UK-based site, so I'm sure our readers will be curious to know that although Lenny Kravitz and Austin Powers famously cast you as the American woman, why it is that you continually come back to England to make films. You've done The Guru, Killing Me Softly, Misconception, and more recently Boogie Woogie there. What is it that you enjoy most about England?
Well, I really like the people in England, and I love their films. You know, I think that there's wonderful films made in England, and luckily they've cast me in some of them. So I'm really excited to work with people there, and it's so fun. I actually just did a film called The Flying Machine with a British director and producer, and they were lovely.
Oh, who's the director?
The director, he's a first-time director. His name's Jeff Lindsay, and the producer is this guy named Hugh Welchman, and he did this short called Peter and the Wolf, which won an Academy Award about, I think, 2 years ago.
I remember that actually.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was excellent.
It was cool, yeah.
Now, you got noticed for Swingers, became established with your iconic role in Boogie Nights as Roller Girl, and Austin Powers made you a star. When you yourself look back on these films, do you see them as career milestones?
Yeah, it is. It's pretty exciting to do films, and this was always my dream, that you could do a film and that people would still watch it, you know, 10 years later, or, you know, to do a film that people still want to watch, you know, whatever, 10, 20 years later. It's cool.
You worked with a real auteur in Paul Thomas Anderson before he was thought of that way. When you were on the set of Boogie Nights, did you have the sense that you were making something special?
I think that we did. You never really know, though. I mean, I think everyone thought we were making something really cool, but at the end of the day, until you see the film and see what happens with it, you don't really know.
What was his directing style like, his energy? I mean, everyone's curious to know because, you know, he is thought of and he's revered in such a way.
Yeah, he's very passionate and really, really just extremely passionate. When you're working with him, he makes you feel like so incredibly supported, and like he's so excited to have you there, and he's really passionate.
Your role in Austin Powers, was that an audition up against other actresses, or did they come to you?
Well, luckily they offered me that part because it was right after Boogie Nights, so that was great that they
And whose idea was it to put you in the Lenny Kravitz video?
Oh, you know, that was actually promotion for Austin Powers, because they used the American Woman song in there, and so Lenny Kravitz did a remake, and then as part of like promotion for the film, like I got to be in the video, which was kind of fun, because I think, you know, I think all girls might have a little fantasy of like doing a rock video.
Now, before you hit the big time, you had bit parts in really good films like even Cowgirls, Get the Blues, and Mrs. Parker in the Vicious Circle. So when you're not...
But I also did Drugstore Cowboy.
Of course, a great film. But in those films where you're not so much in the spotlight, do you use that time on the set to absorb it all like a sponge and looking over other people's shoulders? Because you've got time to do that. You know,
well,
there's a lot of time.
I got to meet a lot of interesting people, and that was fun, and be around a lot of creative people. But yeah, I guess in those films I didn't really have a lot to do. So as an actor, you know, you always want more to do and stuff.
Two Girls and a Guy was my favourite film of yours for the longest time, until you did Broken, which was even better. But that film must have been exhausting because it's you and two other people shouldering the whole thing for 90 minutes or however long it was. How does James Toback keep the energy levels up on the set?
He is, he's got a crazy energy, and he's very smart and he's very charming. And I mean, we shot that film in like 2.5 weeks. It's kind of insane when you think about it, and how movies are shot like 2.5 weeks. It's pretty crazy.
Though you're best known for work in the late 90s, the last decade has seen you reside mostly in the independent world. In 1999's Bowfinger, you actually parodied the naive Midwest girl coming to Hollywood right off the bus. And in Broken, you exploded that cliche and you made it really studied and humane. The watery-eyed vulnerability of Boogie Nights and Two Girls and a Guy was here for the first time genuine and real and honest, and you were able to do the same thing in Adrift in Manhattan the very same year. What a great 1-2 punch that was. So were you trying to prove something to yourself as well as other people? It really felt like you were pushing your range.
I mean, I feel like as an actor, you always want to get a role where you can really, you know, work hard and do something different and play a really challenging character. So, I mean, that's one thing that's great about independent films. Usually they let you do that, and they have more freedom, and they don't have as many restrictions by like studios and money. So it was really fun to get the opportunities to do that.
You also performed on the soundtrack for Broken, and I love that song. Play it very often. So it's The Hanging Tree off the Broken soundtrack. Have you ever been tempted to foray more into music?
I mean, I've always, like when I was a kid, I loved musicals, you know, watching them and movies with music in them. So I always sort of thought it would be fun, but it's a little intimidating.
When you're doing something with a big paycheck like The Hangover, is that enough of a fiscal safety net to sustain yourself over several independent films that you might do in the meantime? Because you seem to make so many of them these days, and I'm wondering how it is that you're able to sustain that over a career when so many of these films, they play to very niche markets and probably don't pay so well.
Well, I feel like they both sort of support the other, because I think everyone in the film business really respects, you know, a great independent film. And I think obviously, like, you know, you have to sometimes think about money and like the amount of money that a movie makes. So I think just to be able to do both is a great thing.
And of the more recent indie films you've done, The Exterminators, the one thing I've got to quiz you on is the sensational wardrobe. Every scene you're wearing something new. It's like Axl Rose at a Guns N' Roses concert.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that was an
That's
incredible
hilarious.
closet you had. Do you keep any costumes after you've wrapped a shoot, or any weird props?
I try to. Actually, you know, the wardrobe designer on that was really cool. Her name's like Alicia Raycroft, and she's really, really talented. And I definitely kept some of that from her because she had great style. So every day was like so fun, like seeing what stuff she found. And we didn't have a big budget, so she found all those.
It seems like all the budget went on the clothes. It made it look a lot bigger budget,
Yeah.
that's for sure. So are you straight back to work after the festival?
You know, I'm doing a film in August with actually the same producer that did Precious, which is kind of fun because I've been talking to Lee about her. But it's a movie, it's more of a children's movie from a children's book, from these children's books. They're called Judy Moody. But I also just did a film, I already told you about The Flying Machine.
But the Judy Moody, hasn't it got a
Yes.
longer, it's got some really long, ridiculous, the books
Yes,
are
it
called
does.
Judy
It's like
Moody.
Judy Moody and the Not Bummer Summer.
Wow, that's going to be interesting on the marquee. See
Yeah,
if they
exactly.
can
It's
fit
really
that.
long.
Well, your IMDb page is certainly crowded with many films at various stages of production. But in the meantime, before you get back to work, I'm sure you'll enjoy the rest of your time here on the beautiful island of Ischia, and I hope you're enjoying Pascal's hospitality as well.
Yeah, it's really fun to be here. It's beautiful.
He's putting on some good evenings for you.
He is. I mean, you know, the funnest thing about it is just all the people that he has here and just getting to know all these different interesting people that, you know, you might not have known, and just in this really beautiful setting, just making friends.